Is that a good way to put it? I didn't name names this time.
No, I see what you're saying, and I think yes, but I would say that it's because we're seeking for something in ourselves that Christ already gave us, and that is an identity, that is a promise of providential care. Go down the list, right? And so when you leave the confines of Christianity, you're kind of making it you're making society, culture, interpersonal relationships, personal identity. You're making it yourself, and you can't. It becomes an idol, right? Because it's connected from the true purpose of worship, that is God.
Yes, and to connect this back to the idea you're developing, I think that you have definitely removed, I would say on both sides. Well, no, I would. Maybe I can agree, except I would almost reverse the order, where the divinity of Jesus has definitely been removed on the left. If he becomes essentially the figurehead for an ethno-identitarian revolutionary movement, whatever group you happen to be representing, then you have definitely removed the divinity of Jesus in practice, if not in name. And then I would say on the right, you might have removed the humanity of Christ to the degree that I would argue many on the right make the same mistake that the Jewish people made, in that they're looking for a Christ figure, whether it's even the original Christ or a human substitute, who will conquer their enemies and deliver them from oppression.
Because a modern American conservatism is very reactionary.
Yes.
Because the I don't know what happened, but and you know better than me, the mainstream cultural narrative jumped from right to left at some point, where the majority of the country is now more sympathetic to a more liberal worldview. And so it was interesting for me, and we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks. The RNC and the DNC just happened, and it just so happened that of all the people they could have chosen, they chose the presiding bishop of the presiding Catholic bishop of each respective city. So it's here in Milwaukee, and my theory was a little out there, but then I realized no, this actually has an application, because when the RNC was in Milwaukee, we had our very own Archbishop Jerome Listecki, give the kind of invocation, as they call it, right? And so it boilerplate Christian message, but there are certain buzzwords and there are certain phraseologies that he used that are more that would play better in a more conservative room, right? Just, so happens, God bless the country, the idea of freedom, the idea, of divine providence, country, and he invoked the name of Christ at the end, right? Now, we had Cardinal Cupich, who's the Archbishop of Chicago, give the convocation at the DNC, and it was a lot more akin to Lord, whatever that means to anyone in the room, Lord, the Lord, whatever, our Lord, your Lord, no Lord at all, just Lord, preside over your handiwork, help us to dream dreams and see visions. I don't mean to mock, but it's difficult for me not to. And he actually he didn't invoke the name of Christ. The other is Archbishop Listecki, who's wearing a cassock with purple piping and what's called the zucchetto, which is a little skull cap. And he was wearing his pectoral cross, gilded in gold, and he was wearing it displayed. And Cardinal Cupich, he was wearing just a black clerical suit with a Roman collar, and his pectoral cross, that's the big cross that bishops wear, was tucked into his pocket. So you see the chain, but not the cross. That's kind of a common fashion that archbishops presented. But I think this is just an interesting kind of flashpoint where you have one cleric who is wearing his cross out. He's openly a cleric and he's invoking the name of Christ. You have another Catholic cleric who is, I presume, and I hope, in a sign of humility. I hope he's not hiding his Christian identity. Hopefully it's a sign of humility. Aside, who's being a witness to the faith and is being present to the people in the room as a more neutral observer who is happy to pray with them. So it's just an interesting how this still to this day figures into American politics.
And actually, I don't think I'm ready to disagree with anything you just said. What I will add to it, though, is when I listened to those two, what was more emphatic for me was that both men were presenting Christian values.
Yep.
Values consistent with the gospel, and that, but they were presenting different sides of a gospel value system.
Precisely.
We can just assume to not needlessly offend their audience, but
Yes.
both prayers were accurately invoking the values of the Christian faith. One was emphasizing freedom and the value of unborn life and devotion or loyalty to the country in the sense that you're not some sort of revolutionary trying to overthrow government. And the other side was emphasizing speaking up for the poor and oppressed, and believing in and having a positive, hopeful, optimistic outlook where you seek the betterment of all and love your, essentially one in the broadest, and I mean in the broadest sense, because this is a wild oversimplification, but broadly speaking, the conservative prayer was emphasizing love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the liberal prayer was emphasizing love your neighbor as yourself. Would we kind of agree on that as a very broad sort of summary?